Jim Jones has officially reached his breaking point. After a leaked video of Chrissy surfaced online, all fingers pointed straight at Camron, and Jim didn't hold back. What started as private tension exploded into a full-blown war, leaving fans stunned at just how deep this betrayal runs. Camron is now being blamed for exposing Chrissy, and Jim's explosive reaction has the entire industry buzzing. When it comes to hip-hop, friendships and loyalty often get tested, but the fallout between Jim Jones and Camron has reached a level no one saw coming. Their brotherhood, which was once considered unbreakable, is now hanging by a thread. And the reason? A leaked Chrissy video that has the entire culture pointing fingers directly at Camron. Let's rewind for a second to understand just how explosive this situation really is. Jim Jones and Camron have history, deep history. From the early 2000s, when Dipset ruled the streets and airwaves, the two stood side by side, building an empire that fans believed would last forever. They weren't just collaborators, they were family, bound by music, hustle, and loyalty. But like most great partnerships, cracks began to show over the years. Ego, money, and outside influences chipped away at their bond. Fast forward to today, and those cracks have now turned into a full-blown war. The spark? A video of Chrissy Lampkin, Jim's longtime partner, somehow making its way to the public. Nobody knew where the footage came from at first, but whispers began spreading quickly. All signs pointed to Camron having had a hand in it. And when the streets start whispering, you know the truth, or at least the perception of truth, spreads like wildfire. The leaked video wasn't just some harmless clip. It carried heavy implications. In it, Chrissy appeared emotional, talking about her frustrations with Jim, their relationship struggles, and how she felt constantly overlooked. At one point, she even questioned if Jim was truly ready to settle down with her, despite their years together. For fans who followed their story through love and hip-hop, the video felt like déjà vu, another chapter in a saga of highs and lows. But what really made the situation messy was the claim that Camron, who had always been at odds with Chrissy, was the one behind the leak. For years, Cam had made it no secret that he didn't approve of Chrissy's influence on Jim. He even made sly comments in interviews, suggesting she was controlling, or that Jim wasn't the same since he got with her. Those remarks, which fans brushed off as typical Camron antics, suddenly took on a new, sinister meaning. If Cam had indeed leaked the video, it wasn't just shade, it was betrayal. Jim, known for his temper and his fierce loyalty to Chrissy, didn't take long to react. According to insiders, the moment he heard Cam's name connected to the leak, he lost it. Behind closed doors, he reportedly erupted in rage, calling out Cam for crossing a line that couldn't be uncrossed. The streets started buzzing with reports of heated phone calls, threats, and even physical altercations being discussed. Social media only amplified the chaos. Clips of Chrissy's leaked video were being reposted everywhere: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and fans had no chill. Memes popped up within hours, with some mocking Chrissy's vulnerability and others painting Jim as a man blindsided by betrayal. And in the middle of all this, hashtags like Josh Cam leaked it and Jim vs Cam began trending. The pressure on Cam grew by the minute. Fans demanded answers, calling him out for being snake-like if he truly was behind the leak. Blogs and gossip sites dissected every detail, pulling up old footage of Cam shading Chrissy and connecting dots that painted him as guilty. One headline even read, "Camron's petty beef with Chrissy finally boils over. Was he behind the leak?" Jim's public demeanor shifted drastically. He unfollowed Cam on social media, a move that fans immediately noticed and spread like wildfire. For two men who built an empire together, that one click of an unfollow button signaled the death of an era. Jim also stopped reposting anything related to Dipset, instead flooding his timeline with cryptic messages about loyalty and betrayal. One post in particular stood out: "When the people closest to you show their hand, believe them. Loyalty ain't a game, it's everything." That single line sent fans into a frenzy, convinced it was a direct shot at Cam. Meanwhile, Chrissy was caught in the middle of the storm. Having her private frustrations go public was humiliating enough, but now being the center of a war between Jim and Cam made it worse. She reportedly told close friends that she felt violated and betrayed, not just by the leak, but by the narrative being spun around it. Insiders revealed that Chrissy had been begging Jim not to escalate things, but if there's one thing fans know about Jim Jones, it's that he doesn't back down when his family is disrespected. The industry reaction was just as heated. Some artists sided with Jim, calling out Cam for being messy and dragging personal business into the spotlight. Others, however, defended Cam, claiming he had nothing to gain from leaking the video and that fans were jumping to conclusions too. Quickly, Cam himself? Silent. And that silence only fueled speculation. Fans argued that if he wasn't guilty, he would have come forward to clear his name immediately. Others claimed his silence was part of his persona. After all, Camron had always thrived on stirring drama and then letting the chaos speak for itself. But silence can be deadly. For Jim, silence was the same as guilt. And as days passed with no response from Cam, Jim's anger reportedly escalated into a full-blown explosion. Insiders say Jim confronted Cam directly, either through a heated phone call or an in-person showdown, and it did not end well. Sources described it as ugly, with screaming, threats, and the final straw being Jim declaring their brotherhood dead. The fallout was swift. Fans started speculating that Dipset was officially over, that whatever chances there were for a reunion tour or new music were now completely destroyed. Blogs ran with headlines like, "Jim explodes on Cam, Dipset done for good," and fans expressed heartbreak at seeing their childhood heroes tearing each other apart. The saddest part? This wasn't just about music anymore. This was about family. Jim and Cam had known each other since kids, survived the streets together, built legacies together. And now, over a leaked video involving Chrissy, that bond seemed shattered beyond repair, and the industry knew it. Other artists who came up during Dipset's reign began speaking out, warning that the fallout between Jim and Cam wasn't just gossip, it was the end of an era in hip-hop culture. The drama between Jim Jones and Camron didn't just stop at whispers and speculation, it evolved into a full-blown firestorm that took over hip-hop culture. Once Chrissy's video hit the internet and fans pinned the blame on Cam, every single move Jim made seemed to confirm that he wasn't holding back anymore. Behind the scenes, insiders claimed Jim felt disrespected on the deepest level. To him, this wasn't just about a video leak. This was about trust, loyalty, and a brotherhood he had poured years of his life into. Jim didn't just see Cam as a collaborator or a friend, he saw him as family. And family doesn't violate each other's home like this. Social media kept things boiling hot. Jim posted another cryptic message, this time with a picture of him and Chrissy. "Real love don't fold when the snakes try to break it. We still here." Fans immediately interpreted this as both a show of support for Chrissy and another direct shot at Cam. The comment section blew up, with fans urging Jim to cut Cam off completely. Some even demanded that Jim confront him publicly to end the speculation once and for all, and then it happened. Jim did exactly that. During a surprise Instagram live session, Jim addressed the situation without naming Cam directly, but everyone knew exactly who he was talking about. Jim looked furious. As he said, "When you call somebody your brother, there are lines you don't cross. You don't play with family, you don't play with people's names, and you damn sure don't try to embarrass their woman. I ain't tolerating none of that. If you think you can disrespect me or mine, you got me twisted." The live ended, abruptly, but the damage was already done. Fans clipped the video and spread it across every platform, using captions like "Jim goes off on Cam" and "Dipset war confirmed." Within hours, blogs and media outlets started reporting that Jim and Cam had been spotted arguing backstage at a private industry event just days earlier. Witnesses claimed the argument nearly turned physical, with Jim's voice carrying across the room as he accused Cam of betraying him. According to one source, Jim shouted, "You crossed the line, bro! Ain't no coming back from this!" The tension was so thick that security reportedly had to step in and separate the two before fists were thrown. And although Cam still hadn't publicly responded, his silence became its own statement. Fans split down the middle. Some sided with Jim, arguing that if Cam truly leaked Chrissy's private video, then he deserved every bit of heat coming his way. Others, however, began questioning whether Jim was letting emotions cloud his judgment. They pointed out that Cam hadn't directly denied or confirmed anything, and without receipts, it was still all speculation. But in hip-hop, perception is reality, and the perception was that Cam was guilty. Things got even more intense when Camron's name began, trending on Twitter after an old interview resurfaced. In the clip, Cam was asked about Chrissy and Jim's relationship, and his response was dismissive. He laughed and said, "Man, I don't get into all that. That's Jim's business, but I ain't never been a fan of how shorty move." Fans took that as confirmation that Cam always had smoke for Chrissy, and therefore had motive to leak the video. The old interview went viral overnight, strengthening the narrative that Cam was the one behind the leak. Meanwhile, Chrissy remained silent in public, but was reportedly devastated. Sources close to her said she felt like her most vulnerable moments had been weaponized and used against her. It wasn't just embarrassing, it was heartbreaking. She had spent years defending her love for Jim against critics, and now her private frustrations were being used to tear them apart. As for Jim, the pressure cooker only intensified when he went on The Breakfast Club. During the interview, he was asked directly about the leaked Chrissy video. His face hardened, and after a long pause, he said, "That's family business. But let me be clear, when people cross lines, there's no forgiveness. And if you're supposed to be my brother, you ain't supposed to be on the other side. Period." He didn't drop Cam's name, but everybody watching knew exactly who he was talking about. Charlemagne, never one to let things slide, pressed further. "So, are you saying Cam leaked it?" Jim shook his head slowly and said, "I ain't pointing no fingers, but everybody knows where the energy came from. Everybody knows who been throwing shade for years. Y'all smart. Y'all put it together." The studio went silent after that, and within minutes the interview was trending on Twitter. Headlines exploded across the internet. Jim Jones suggests Camron leaked Chrissy video. At this point, Cam's silence became unbearable for fans. They flooded his social media with comments, demanding he address the accusations. But instead of clearing his name, Cam posted a single photo of himself laughing in a luxury car with the caption, "Unbothered." The internet exploded again. Some took the post as Cam mocking the situation and indirectly admitting guilt, while others argued it was classic Camron, playing it cool, refusing to let drama drag him down. But for Jim, that post was salt in the wound. Industry insiders reported that Jim completely cut Cam off after that. No communication, no appearances together, no behind-the-scenes reconciliation. The Dipset brotherhood, once thought to be unshakable, now looked dead in the water. Fans began mourning the end of an era. Nostalgic clips of Dipset's glory days flooded social media, Jim and Cam rocking stages together, their legendary freestyles, and their impact on New York hip-hop. But now, those memories were bittersweet, overshadowed by betrayal and anger. To make matters worse, whispers about the leak's origin continued to spread. Some claimed the footage had been in Cam's possession for years, while others argued it was leaked by someone in Jim and Chrissy's inner circle to stir up chaos. Still, the narrative kept circling back to Cam, whether fair or not. By the end of the week, Jim was reportedly telling close friends that he was done with Cam forever. For fans who grew up idolizing their bond, that was heartbreaking. The feud wasn't just destroying their personal relationship, it was tearing apart a piece of hip-hop history. And the most painful part? The leaked video wasn't even as damaging as the fallout it created. What Chrissy said in it wasn't shocking enough to destroy her relationship with Jim, but the fact that it got out and the belief that Cam had a hand in exposing it was enough to shatter everything. This wasn't just about a video anymore, it was about trust, loyalty, and betrayal. And Jim Jones, never one to hold back, was making it clear. Once you cross him, there's no going back. The third act of this explosive fallout between Jim Jones and Camron begins in the quiet aftermath of chaos. The industry has been left in shock. Fans are split down the middle, and Chrissy Lampkin finds herself at the center of a storm she never asked for. The leaked video, allegedly connected to Camron, didn't just humiliate Chrissy, it cracked the very foundation of her relationship with Jim, one that had already been tested by years of ups and downs. And now, Jim's rage toward Cam has gone from heated words to something far more dangerous, because this isn't just about friendship anymore. It's about pride, love, and betrayal. Behind the scenes, Jim Jones was described as pacing back. And fourth, his energy uncontainable. Friends close to him said that he felt backstabbed in broad daylight. This wasn't just some internet gossip. This was a deep violation, and for Jim, that's unforgivable. The streets of Harlem raised both him and Cam. They built Dipset side by side, and now it felt like one of the pillars of that brotherhood had just been destroyed. Jim's circle started whispering about retaliation. Not the kind you handle with words, but with action. Meanwhile, Camron, who had stayed relatively calm in public despite being blamed, finally spoke out in a way only Cam can. He brushed off the accusations, making light of the situation on social media, and some fans actually found it funny. But others weren't laughing. His nonchalant response only fueled Jim's anger. To Jim, this wasn't a game. This was his woman, his respect, his life. And if Cam couldn't even acknowledge the seriousness of the situation, then the tension could never be resolved. Behind Chrissy's closed doors, she was dealing with her own pain. She had been through battles with Jim before, but this was different. This wasn't Mama Jones criticizing her. This wasn't a delay in wedding plans. This was her being humiliated in front of the entire world. Reports say she broke down in tears after seeing the clip resurface online, calling it a violation of my soul. For her, the worst part wasn't just the video being out. It was knowing that Jim's rage was now directed at Cam, someone who had once been like family. But fans weren't staying silent either. Social media became the battlefield, with hashtags like #TeamJim and #TeamCam popping up everywhere. Some fans believed Camron was innocent, accusing outsiders of stirring up drama to split Dipset apart again. Others were convinced Cam had something to do with it, pointing to his history of poking fun at Jim's relationship. And then there were those who simply called out Chrissy, questioning her loyalty and blaming her for even being in this situation in the first place. It was messy, it was ugly, and it wasn't slowing down anytime soon. As days passed, insiders revealed that Jim had refused to answer any of Cam's calls. Instead, he surrounded himself with people who fueled his fire, reminding him of all the old times Cam had taken shots at Chrissy. Every reminder was like pouring gasoline on a burning flame. One source said, "Jim's loyalty is everything. Once he feels you betrayed that, it's over. There's no coming back." And that's exactly how he treated this, like a line had been crossed that could never be uncrossed. But the industry wasn't just watching silently. Fellow rappers started chiming in, some calling for peace and others fanning the flames. 50 Cent, who's never one to stay quiet, even dropped a slick comment online implying that Jim had been played. That only made things worse because Jim felt mocked while he was dealing with real pain. With outside voices getting louder, the situation became not just personal, but public entertainment, and that added insult to injury. Meanwhile, Cam doubled down on his stance. He refused to apologize, saying he had nothing to apologize for. Instead, he leaned into his confidence, claiming that he wouldn't be the scapegoat for Jim and Chrissy's relationship problems. His fans cheered him on, but his enemies saw this as arrogance. For Jim, this was like Cam spitting in his face after already hurting him. And then came the breaking point. Reports started swirling that Jim Jones had pulled up to a private event where Cam was expected to appear. Security sources claim the tension was so thick, everyone braced for a violent clash. Jim's team allegedly told him to fall back, but he wasn't hearing it. The sight of Cam laughing and brushing the whole thing off was enough to push him over the edge. Eyewitnesses said Jim shouted across the room, his voice echoing, accusing Cam of betrayal in front of everyone. The room went dead silent as Cam simply smirked, refusing to back down. What happened next has been kept under wraps, but sources claim security had to physically separate the two before things escalated beyond words. But that confrontation told everyone one thing: this beef is no longer just whispers on social media. It's real, it's personal, and it could explode at any moment. Chrissy, for her part, reportedly begged Jim not to let things spiral further. She reminded him that no matter how painful the betrayal felt, risking everything he's built wasn't worth it. But Jim's silence in those moments spoke louder than any words. For him, this wasn't just about Chrissy's video. It was about respect, manhood, and the legacy he shares with Camron being tainted. Now, fans are left wondering, Where does this all end? Will Jim and Cam ever find a way to reconcile? Or has Dipset truly reached its breaking point for good? And what does this mean for Chrissy, who continues to carry the weight of humiliation while being caught in the crossfire of two Harlem legends? The fallout has left everyone talking. Every post, every comment, every fan reaction adds fuel to the fire. And the reality is, this war between Jim Jones and Camron may have only just begun. And there you have it. Jim Jones and Camron. Two Harlem legends, now standing on opposite sides of a war nobody thought would ever happen. A leaked video, a broken friendship, and a betrayal that may never be forgiven. But the question remains, was Cam really behind the leak? Or is he being used as the perfect scapegoat for a problem much bigger than him? I want to hear from y'all. Do you think Jim and Camron can ever squash this beef? Or has Dipset's brotherhood been destroyed for good? Drop your thoughts in the comments because this story has the entire culture watching. And before you go, make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on your notifications. Because the way this drama is unfolding, trust me, the next chapter will be even more explosive.